What's up, everyone? Welcome to Hawk versus Wolf versus Holmes.
Man, it's not as catchy, but it's pretty cool.
Or Hawk versus Wolf featuring Holmes.
I could
That's
be
better.
just the referee between the Wolf and the Hawk right now.
It's definitely the smartest move. Like if it's us three, you should both be the ref, and I'll punch myself in the face. For you guys, it's the least I can do.
Welcome, Christian.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah,
I really
thanks for
appreciate it.
So we put the word out of, would you guys want guests? Who do you want? And Christian and Rodney.
Wow.
Like,
amazing.
definitely were
To be,
top of the list.
demanded with Rodney is pretty humbling because he's such a, I mean, not only is he a great skater, but he's just this amazing personality that I got to know him later on in life because back in the day, vert and freestyle
Yeah, we were talking
were
about
a
that.
little bit like, they didn't have kind words sometimes, but we had mad respect for
But he
Rodney.
Rodney
respect for
broke the
Rodney.
mold though, especially with the whole freestyle vert.
He was so far
Era.
advanced that we were still sitting there scratching our heads and sitting there getting ready to skate the vert contest going, what did he just do? How did the board, do an impossible? It was incredible.
I have a question. This is way better show for me than everybody else. I'm like, fuck yeah, you two could just. I'm like, what was that like? So Rodney Mullen, I remember and I'm not there, but Tony is not that cool. Rodney's not that cool because he's cool with Tony. Those two are friends because they win a lot of contests and they do nerdy technical tricks. Christian, you're not. You're the opposite. You're the guy that doesn't do, even though you could do technical tricks, but you went big and you hung out with a lot of other people that were way more into the lifestyle than into how many tricks I can do. You were cool, but you never made fun of Rodney Mullen?
No, because you have respect for people who are great. And he was so beyond, for me, he was so beyond his years that we were still in awe. So it was hard to hate on the guy. It's
like this. The freestylers, definitely there was, I don't know, animosity, but it was just kind of like, they're doing 360s.
Like the other guys that own shoe companies now. Did you like them?
We got along, but there wasn't a reverence when Rodney Mullen's name was called, at a freestyle event. Everyone stopped what they were doing,
including you guys.
Yes,
for sure.
Right, okay.
And the rest was fair game.
No, hey man, let's be real.
Apologize who I became friends with, all you freestyle guys.
I was gonna say,
wait, freestylers came to own the world. They got the last laugh.
They really did. I thought that I as a outsider.
But was it worth it?
What do you mean?
Hey, no, just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Oh man, how could I'm not even.
I love you guys. Like I said,
I remember them, and I'm like, wait, weren't you guys kind of insignificant? And now you own a big. That's got to feel good, right? And a few of those guys have said to me yeah, that wasn't bad. That wasn't a bad thing for that to turn around and all of a sudden, because when they had the money and they owned the pile, then a lot of skateboarders, whether they liked it or not, are like, hey,
we're down.
Couldn't help noticing you've got the greatest shoe company in the world. And they're like, didn't you shit on me at some cut? They're like, no, how about that? I don't know if that ever happened, but I feel like they were more business than that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that there was that it was hurling insults. It just was a lack of interest.
Okay, is that worse? I wonder which is worse.
Well, I think it's all bad when you come to that kind of for me where I come from. So I came from the other side. Want to be cool guys. We're the the bomb. We're it, right? And then these freestylers are doing flat ground completely harmless. You can't get hurt. Right. You fall, what are you going to do? Hit the ground? With how they did their tricks, it was coming out of the 70s because I was there when it was 1980, 81. It was so new and it was so for us, we were
it was like dancing. It was we thought of it as ice skating.
Because a lot of the moves were very dancey.
Some were just straight up dancing.
Right, and I feel like Rodney Mullen started doing things where even if untrained, you're like, okay, I don't even know if that's humanly possible. Did he then you start see how you guys can get with it? Because me watching the other guys, I mean, at one point there was hair flicks involved, And I'm like, wait, what?
Oh, if you can look up videos of freestyle, there's stuff of people like getting off their board and boogieing, and then getting back on their board.
My favorite was Primo Desiderio and his wife.
They did SeaWorld, didn't they?
They would do
Diane.
Diane. They would do a full routine, but it was to hip hop.
Yeah,
and like,
sick.
Rocket and those types of music.
But then
they performed at SeaWorld
for a long time.
For a long time, yeah.
Right.
That was entertaining. That was dope.
See, I want to know, I know, like, Rodney Mullen, everybody, wow, you're so crazy. I got to respect him. But at one point, I saw a video, this is me in Australia, who's got a guy who's a pro guy who came to America and came back and said, you guys are you don't fuck with these two. They're, blah, blah, blah. But at Del Mar, there's some shit there where a whole bunch of people are talking shit and everyone's mad at Tony, and there's a bunch of people that are on Christian's side, and I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, I don't know. I only see you guys flying in the air. He's got a fucking pink helmet, and you're doing fucking crosses, and I'm like, whoa, these guys must be like, best buds. And then to see this, I got a VHS video because it was Gregor Rankin, you know him, right? He was at the contest. So as much as he liked you, the crowd was being mean to Tony, and Gregor's such a weird dude that he was like, oh, I'm Tony's number one fan because that's like the most wrong. For. Yeah, he had something. It was everyone wanted to beat him up, and he finds that, I don't know. I think he gets off on that someone's gonna kill him for being so ballsy. But I watched this video, and
it's an Aussie,
everyone's cool.
New Zealand thing.
all the cool people loved you. And you had no shirt on, you had it coming out of your fucking thing. And you also, you backed it up. Like you were like, woo. And I'm like, wait, are you calling that you're gonna do a 5? I'm like, even when I was a kid, I was like, holy shit, the balls. And this, I could tell that pool, I would not have had a video part of any move in that thing. I would have just had frant.
So funny.
That thing is impossible.
I just watched that Del Mar footage
of that contest that I'm talking about.
There was only 2 like that. We were like at the end, 84 and 85.
Yeah.
And I just remember doing what you just said, and I'm doing the rollout to go and do the 5. And you're right. It was like, here we go.
With the pressure.
It's coming.
Yeah, but he delivered. But you delivered. So we all thought that was funny and quirky. Yeah. But at the same time, we were like, but he's doing it.
But you can't. No one could do it. Especially that 5. You had a 5 that was the most dangerous 540 out of all 540s. It was the biggest one. It was the most flippy one.
And close to hanging.
But I couldn't get over your friends. It seemed like, because I saw some people in the crowd that I go, I know that guy. He's a pro too. Some Eddie. There was some dreadlock people that were like, fucking, burned. And I'm like, okay, when you guys leave and you go afterwards, are you telling him to go fuck himself? Or did Eddie,
no,
I don't want to say
I really think the rivalry of the fans when they were in the stands, it was more like, it was such a battle between us, and the vibe was such a different, kind of like tracker. Indie, Thrasher, Trans World. So you had so many people in the industry that were fighting for an each side as well. So it's not only fighting for us, but there was a lot of other things that they were rivaling for.
Yeah, representing a faction.
And then it was like they were just rooting. It was almost like some sort of college football in the stands.
Did you two get pulled into it, or were you both always cool with each other?
We were cool.
It was always almost like entertainment.
Did you ever have to tell anybody? It was almost like a
movie set where they're like, okay, act like fans now. And then they would do it. And then afterwards, who were they? They were all of us who all hung out together.
Yeah.
Really?
I have a good perspective on it now, though. And I'm pretty sure they're announcing that they're doing this documentary about my life. Sam Jones has done it. And it's done.
Amazing.
It's done. And so there is a big part of that storyline in it from what I know.
Yeah.
And I have a perspective on it now because I remember it in that, it was one part of the stands, a big part of the stands that was mostly NorCal dudes, Thrasher, indie. So that was already like not cool with Del Mar locals, Tracker, Bones Brigade, right?
Okay.
And then hardcore Christian fans, obviously, because that's the cool, because he's the man, right? The king of style.
Yeah.
So there was that. And then they just started, instead of just rooting for him, booing me because they just decided they had to choose sides. And there wasn't some big faction of people that were on my side. But
No, I know you was
But
only
the
a-
Del Mar locals were like, well, that sucks that they're doing that.
Yeah.
Let's give it back to them.
Did you ever talk to your side about being a bit more respectful? Did that ever come up, or were you like,
Well,
hell yeah,
I
it's
think
helping
it's
me
out
win?
of respect because they knew he's probably going to win. It's his home park. I'm the only one that's going to give him a run for his money. The fans are like rooting for me, booing him, hoping he's going to maybe mess up under the pressure.
Oh, okay.
So it's not just booing him. It's like booing the results. Because it's like, that's how you do it. It's in basketball. You see it.
Okay,
When you go
now
to a different stadium, they're going to be doing this to distract, go to another one. And then the fans, they're feeling threatened. It was amazing how that worked out. Were we kind of like, oh gosh, they're taking it over the top. Dang, why do you want to go there? Why do you want to? Now it's like, boo Hosoi, you know what I mean, to his fans. They were like booing the fans that were booing Tony. It was like a heavy kind of like
I remember seeing Gregor flipping them all off, and I was like, that guy likes me? That's like, that guy doesn't like me.
He liked you, but he liked you way more because of all.
He
those
liked the
people
controversy.
He was like, wait, you're all gonna gang up on him? Oh, well then I'm on his side.
I'll tell you when it got more insulting for me is that one of my runs, they threw beer cans in the bowl
while you were skating.
While I was skating, yeah. And that's when I was like, dude, this sucks.
Right, because you're just straight up fucking the guy's rides. Like it's not like you might have.
Yeah, that was kind of a bummer. But at the same time,
wasn't that like the daggers from that fashion movie?
Yeah.
I knew.
Jax.
See,
They're throwing Jax in the ball. Literally,
maybe that was
in
the
the
inspiration
contest.
for it.
It's
oh man, I didn't want to.
It's probably
a dagger. I was like, I swear to
hole.
God, everyone looks like Duncan in that crowd over there. I'm like, and being a little guy and here, like, boo, and I'm like, wait, are they like actually really
and he's a Del Mar
angry?
local, by the way, right? Duncan and those guys. So it was
that's where it got
great.
weird.
I became kind of localish there too, hanging out with these guys.
Because it was last park.
Yes,
but I do remember Tommy Guerrero wrote an apology to Thrasher. That actually did happen for that event
on behalf of Thrasher
just
people.
like
or
we know that he, we were acting out of line.
Was he a part of it?
He was in the stands, so I don't know how he participated in it, but he was definitely guilty by association.
Right. He definitely would have been.
And he was a Bones Brigade dude, so I think I don't know if there were other people saying that or what, but that happened.
Dang, we're talking serious, bro. That stuff was that's like dramatic picture right there. Could you imagine?
Look, if you're looking at, I love skateboarding. I love vert. You two are the kings of vert, and to know that it was like I related to you more because I was trying to be cool. I wanted to like the things that came natural to me were going big and doing a method air versus doing a Indy 360. It didn't come. I couldn't relate to him because everything he did, I was like, I'll never do that. I was doing like little weak ass versions of your shit, but his like like airwalk. I was like, I've never done one. I still can't do one. In my prime, I wasn't going to do that one, but I did, some lazy looking Christian method airs and started to get that's what made me happy.
Even in my shoes, I just wanted my tricks to look like his. You know what I mean? Like even learning all the tricks and stuff, I was like, but I can't crossbone like that, and that's the standard by which everything should be measured.
Is there any tricks, Christian, that he started doing where they were like you weren't doing that?
Crossbone is definitely one that he did good.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
That and the overturn.
And there's very rare people who can do it completely flat. Other than.
But that was it. I watched. There was a photo of you at Upland, and then that was it. I was like, that if I'm ever gonna do that trick, it's got to look like that.
Did you feel like, was that okay for him to do that? Like, because you didn't feel like somebody was trying to. Have you ever felt like someone doing your shit? Have you felt nothing but gratitude, or have you ever felt like
complimentary?
Okay,
to me, no matter flattering, it's complimentary, and I encourage it. I mean, me and him skated forever. We've done demos together, staying in the same hotels, and we're always supporting each other since day one. I don't remember any type of bad vibe between me and Tony at any ramp, at any pool, at any contest, at any
I've never seen
demo.
him really be angry. I've never seen one of you actually be angry.
If you think about it, it was never up to us anyway. We just
the crowd
skated.
decided?
No, the judges decided, Yeah, the crowd had their favorites and whatever, but at the end of the day, we just skated our best, and it was art against art, and however the judges saw it, that's just what it was.
And I think the pressure between us, how we process pressure and the competitive nature that we have, I mean, we strive and thrive on that moment. I think if you watch Tony's skating contest, when I would watch him, you could just feel his intensity that he's not going to bail.
Right.
And for me, that was like what drove the adrenaline in me to take my skateboarding to another level. Every time he'd learn another trick, I'd have to figure out how to compensate it with my style of skateboarding.
And how would you go about things like that? When he started doing all these new tricks, did you start thinking
higher,
about...
I went farther, and I'm like, well, how far can I go? Right? Till I have to start getting technical.
So when
Lip
did that...
Tricks came in,
okay,
Ben Schroeder and all them, and Lee Ralph. And I was like, man, I need to learn lip tricks. So I had to learn lip tricks to even stay competitive with his tricks. You know what I mean? And then it became, okay, he's not skating at his best, and you could take advantage of that. That's been a lot of times, Tony. I was like, he didn't get that run like the run before.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's finals. And you know what? It's crazy. We would go prelim, semifinals, and then finals. And it's like 2 runs. There's not 3 runs. We're talking 2 runs is all you get.
So
combined score even, right? I think combined score.
Or best 2 out of 3.
Something like that.
It was either that, it was either best 2 out of 3, or it was head-to-head. Head-to-head was the worst.
Head-to-head was insanity.
I'm from the older era, and they only did it one time in my whole career. And yeah, I agree. I hated that. I was like, wait, now it's like you against me. I did not like that. I liked it better when it was just all of us against all of us.
There's a little like ego when it comes to that, though, because I remember going, oh, dang, I got to go head-to-head with my friends. And then, you look and you go, man, okay, I have to like build up. So in your competitive like strategy, you have to be almost strategic in what tricks you reveal in the quarterfinals, then into the semifinals, then into the finals. If you don't save those tricks for them, but you still got to kill it. So the pressure's still on to like be even more impressive with your other stuff versus pulling out your, banger tricks in the finals.
Right.
But for sure, if you were to do those banger tricks in the semis, and then you did the same thing in the finals, you're going to get a lower score.
See,
only you two though. Like other people might get away with it.
That's the little bit of like, that's that little margin of error that we knew when I skated with him. Yeah. There was just that little margin of error. It's so minute, you know what I mean? But it was so real, and I think that's really what.
And the judges would definitely punish us for it.
Right. I felt like you guys were always really consistent for doing the hardest 2 runs of the day. I don't remember many times where you both didn't make your ride and the judges had to decide. Like I don't.
Yeah,
remember
but you could tell if it was all on or if there were little wobbles or little sketches. Like they were subtle. It was nuanced, but we could both tell. And the judges were so in tune with what we were capable of that they were pretty harsh.
Yeah,
right, so if you didn't go above your level, then they weren't going to.
The judges fly into town. NSA's all over. They would never see us skate except at the contest, right? Because there's no way to watch us skate. So we go in on Wednesday, ramp open Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, contest Saturday. Every single contest was like that. I'd fly in on Tuesday, be there early Wednesday. They're finishing the ramp, and I'm getting first runs on the ramp, telling them, move the coping out. They're going, no, we're keeping it in. I'm like, move that coping out. And I'm like, just like,
making it for the bump. Getting it right.
Yeah. And they're like, get out of here, Christian. When's practice? Not till later. I'm going to just hang out right here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that was kind of like the thing you had to do. You had to like almost not perform in practice in front of the judges. And then all these guys would come in, and they just do their contest run. I'd be like, here they go. They're just doing contest
runs.
Everything
they got.
And they're going bigger than they're going to go in the finals. I know they're not going to do this in the contest, right? Because it's just so much pressure in a contest that you're just going to go lower. You're not going to be as powerful. And I kind of know who's going to just go all out. Miller, of course, is just going to go all out. Lester's going to go all out. There's no stopping those guys.
Right.
They're going to do their best run in the opening first run.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
all or nothing.
It's like that. Yeah. Them too. The rest, we have some conservative people, but that's where you have to like be strategic on what you reveal. Then the judges, I would always just come in, cruise around. They're like, dude, he's not practicing. What's going on? Well, I already know that I have to do these tricks. And I'm like, I just need to get warmed up.
Right.
I don't have to practice that trick 5 runs in a row before the contest run. And all these guys are just banging out contest run, contest run, contest run. I'm just like, and then I come in, I do a mellow run and they're like, whoa, that was sick. And I'm like, they didn't see me skate. So it's all, full on first impression.
Did you do that?
I did it in a way that I had a line of whoever I want to hit on the ramp and then interchangeable tricks.
Okay.
And so those increase in difficulty every time.
Okay.
So the first run, like he said, first run is it's just an indie air on this wall. But on this run, it's going to be a stale 5.
Okay.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
Where I would always just bump it up and then like he said, you just keep increasing it. So even in the finals, you're not phoning it in, but for sure the first run isn't the best. It's just one you want to get on the board.
Right.
And the second one, like for him, he just blasted higher or did something harder.
You have to. Like there was no holding back. I think that's the nerve that you had to have, to actually have my style of skating go up against his style of skating. Because, progression and advanced technicality versus power, speed, and style, that type of skating, that, just had to increase. And I think that pushed me. I think it pushed him. And we were just on this crazy, creative path, you know what I mean? Doing what we love to do.
It's funny how you say you're not technical, but to be able to land where you land and pump the way you do, I mean, it's not like Sergi's the only person I've ever seen that like comes as close as you as when it comes to, it doesn't look like you're fucking trying. It looks like you've got a little motor going and you're cheating. I mean, it's a freakish thing. Have you always had that? Like when you were, because I noticed you guys were like amateur shredders, little guys. You were like Cab, like little with the mushroom head because you were so little. Mm-hmm. Were you flying around when you were a short person, like a little kid?
I think, you know what, there was a little bit of it. You know what I mean? If I were to look back and I were to just try to imagine what my life was like when at 10 years old, skating Marina Del Rey and hanging out with, Dennis Agnew, Polar Bear, and Shogo and George Wilson in the Brown Bowl and just trying to figure out skateboarding. But I was going and copying their tricks, invert, and I would just do it more extended. I was going for it back, when I was little.
Yeah.
And I think they saw something in that and they're like, whoa, look at this little shredder. And then I got my photo in Skateboarder magazine doing the frontside ollie.
That was the moment.
And really, they were telling me I had, the style. You're going to be,
even at that
champion.
age.
Oh, yeah.
Well, in the photo, were you landing disaster on that?
You know what? I did it in and I did it to disaster. So that one looks probably to disaster.
But either way, it looks like a 4-foot frontside ollie.
Right.
From a munchkin.
Right.
Yeah. And he's got long hair. I thought he was a girl. Because it said Christian Hosoi, and I was like, is that a girl's name? And then, it's just blasting. And we as kids his age that were skating, were like, that is insane.
Oh, so you didn't know him yet when you saw that photo?
No.
So that's the first thing of Christian Hosoi you ever saw was that frontside ollie?
Yep.
And then from that photo, everyone starts talking to you like you're the next big thing in that.
My dad managed Marina Del Rey skate park. So I was friends with like all those guys, the Jer, you know what I mean? Kent Senator, Shogo Kubo. We sat there at that park every day. I would sweep the bowls. I would open up the, pinball machines, foosball tables.
So
run the snack bar.
Oh, okay. So this
free Cokes and for all my friends.
Let me get to this aerial. Like the backside, is it the backside air that's your first aerial, or is these frontside airs or frontside ollies? Like, how do you stop flying around and you go, wow, this is pretty easy to me?
Well, Jay Adams' first cover, he's like doing like a full on like two-handed air on the cover, like a weird air. So when we're little kids, I was at Skateboard World. This is 77 maybe. And we're doing full bunny hop airs. Woo, out of the bowl at the end.
Okay.
Or jumping off your board and over the fence and leaving your board in the bowl.
Okay. Yeah.
So those are kind of like the first, like trying to go big, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
everybody's doing high jumps, you know what I mean?
Oh, just jumping over the stick thing?
Barrel jump.
Yeah.
Tony Alva barrel jump in the magazine.
You're using transition to catch air.
For us, it was like almost like that moment where it went from freestyle and kind of, 360s and pad ads, right? All this crazy kind of advertisement that was just 70s to like 80s. Bones Brigade, 1980, boom, came in hot, wide 6-track mag trucks. And it was such a fast transition and evolution at that moment. Everything changed. Everything changed. Like all the skaters, the pros that were pro at Gold Cup, gone in 81 right after that
Right,
contest.
yeah.
Like literally overnight, because we were so hungry at that moment. Gold Cup, you could see that the amateurs were just advancing probably within months.
Yep.
Within months, they were like advancing so quickly that
Because you didn't even win
everyone
an amateur
said, "We're
contest
done,"
and you're already
they
on the
quit.
Bones Brigade because Stacy saw your skills.
I was on, but at Gold Cup, I was on Dogtown.
Oh, shit.
And I was at that contest, that marina contest, when it was definitely there was a whole shift going on, but all the old school guys were still there, and we were coming up and
Doing
I
tricks,
think
and
I
they
told
were-
the story. I think maybe on this show, but that's when I did half cab frontside rock.
Yeah, and he copied you.
I did that at the end of my run in the Gold Cup series, and I was whatever. I could barely, I was doing like tiny backside ollies and thrusters and just barely getting to the top. But I did
Carving
that
super
trick.
fast one wheel cars with his hand on his knee, pushing super fast.
Yeah.
I just remember him doing that.
Yeah, pushing on my knee. Well, like when you weren't here, but there were
Lion.
those little Japanese
Little guy.
kids here the other day,
Yeah.
and they're 8.
Oh, I saw the video you posted.
Those guys are pushing on their knees through the flat bottom, and I go, I feel that.
Yeah.
You feel that like in a deep way, you guys.
Their whole body's pumping.
Yeah.
Manipulating.
But I did that
every
trick,
ounce of
and
speed they can.
like a half hour later, I saw Eddie Elguera trying that trick in the Brown Bowl, and I was blown away.
Yeah, you were doing
But-
varials down at the bottom. I
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
the full varial airs.
Yeah.
I was like, this kid is tricky. You know what I mean? And I'm doing backside channels in the
He was going over the
contest.
channel. The channel was reserved for a select few.
Right, because you've already figured out how to kind of launch yourself by then.
Well, it was my home park. I
Yeah, but
grew
it's
up there,
but
so
I mean
it was
it's an
so easy
8-foot
for me.
channel that goes in, right? So it's not like
So you got to pull out
You gotta
ridiculously.
pull out.
Yeah.
Full on.
it was really no. I mean there were maybe 4 people that had done it at that point.
All right.
And he's doing it, and then he's like scraping up the coping into a tail tap,
Oh,
but like
sick.
air to tail
Yeah.
tap, and we, I was his age. I was like, how the fuck does he do that?
Airs to fakie.
Oh, wow. Back then, there's the
big
fake.
backside ollies.
And
did the
layback airs,
layback
or
air.
laybacks.
Yeah, layback. I
Love
did the
those.
full like eye contact with the judges all the way to the bottom like this. If you see the video, Ray Allen
yeah.
has a video, and I'm like, I'm looking at the judge, and I stay on the flat bottom looking at the judges like this.
He was already a showman.
Wait,
I swear.
10 when you were doing that?
Shogo,
11,
man.
like 11, yeah.
Shogo. I got
Yeah.
my, attitude from the, Jay Adams and Shogo, Billy Uron, those guys, man.
So then when you get into contest and it becomes like, everybody starts to blow up and skateboarding's never been bigger before and you verts what skateboarding is and you are the 2 vert guys. What, like, is that the heyday to you, or do you see that as like you weren't really paying attention to what was happening? Do you remember it? Like, do you look back fondly on it?
I think it lasted a long time. Like it lasted years and years. That's what was so incredible from 1980 all the way to the 90s, like mid 90s. I mean, I was still around, but I obviously went into my dark side, in the 90s and just kind of left skateboarding. I still kind of like come in here and there to one contest. I think at the Hard Rock, my last contest, I got the cover of Slap magazine doing a method. And then
Was that the one in Newport?
maybe
The Hard Rock?
or Las Vegas. I don't know which one, but both of those.
What was the San Francisco street contest that you went in? Was
The one in the
where-
fountain?
Yeah, where he had some girlfriend that he made out with for like a long period of time, and I can't remember if it was in your contest ride or right after or right before, but I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Was that on video?
This is before, like, I was there. Like,
you were there.
I don't know if anybody posted the video. I'm sure somebody did, kinda, but it was, there was a few new street dudes that were good, but it wasn't enough. There were vert dudes that could keep up. Christian was there. You were learning tray flip on the flat ground. I was like, fuck, he can do that with his flat out tailboard. Like, that's crazy. You're even trying that. I think Gons was there and Guerrero. Shit like it was San Francisco.
I think Tommy won it, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Is that the second or third one?
The one that was in the fountain with the spines?
Yeah.
And you would get away with the nose wheelie around the whole fucking
That was
street
sick.
course.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know who it was, but there's some girl that was like a part. She was your girlfriend, I'm sure of it, but she was like part of your contest ride. Like it was I think you made out with her, and they were like, Christian, your ride's up, and you're just tonguing this chick, and I'm like, is he gonna go? Nah, he's not gonna go. And then it was like, you've totally heard your name. Like you were like, I don't care.
15 seconds.
Yeah, and then you rolled off into the street course and did street.
I think
stuff.
if it's the one, it was when it was like small wheels and narrow boards, maybe Focus. I was doing Focus at the time.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Focus.
Yeah.
That's right.
And so I had this like 7.5-inch wide board, like custom made, and it was my little skinny shape with narrow trucks.
Yeah.
And I just learned heel flips. This is the only contest I've ever done a flip trick in. It's the only one. And I said to myself, man, you know what? I can't compete with these guys. They're all doing these crazy tricks. I think this is the second one or something like this.
Okay.
It's not the first one, because the first one I'm doing board slides and on the banked wall in the back. That was a different one. That's the one he's talking about with the spine in the middle. Jason Lee's doing kickflip back tail for the first time.
Okay. Yeah, that's...
So the next one was when Sheffy's doing like nollies over the couch and everything.
Oh.
Blasting late shove-its.
Okay, I saw the first one then. It was the first one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because...
It all gets a little blurry.
It does.
But here, I'll talk to you about that heel flip. So I'm sitting here going, you know what? I'm not going to place if I don't do a flip trick. So I said, I'm going to start with heel flipping over the, 8-foot, bank to bank, right? So I'm like, what do I got to lose? Just go for it and just bail. At least I look like I'm progressive, right? I swear. They'll think I'm like really trying hard to keep up.
Yeah.
I'm trying hard to keep up. And then
You're
I
like,
go,
damn, man, I usually make that all the time.
and I landed.
Oh, sweet.
And I got 4th place, I think, something like that, because of that trick, I'm sure.
Oh, that worked out.
Yeah, so that was a great memory of
That's pretty
San Francisco.
sick. Yeah.
San Francisco.
What about limousines to contests? Do you recall doing those, and what was your theory on that? Because that was very impressive also. Do you recall any of those where you would show up with a limousine?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
you got to have an entrance, you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
No, you do.
Well, when
Listen up, Tony.
when you show up,
I'm still working on it.
You fucked up big time, dude. You could have fucking been huge.
All I could think of is Tony and the Bones Brigade cruising in the station wagon right
And the
now.
Volvo, yeah.
Yeah, the Volvo cross country.
No, cool.
I love the way Lance tells it in my documentary. He tells it funny.
About how...
and Holmes is doing demos for $1,000.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm for sure show up in a limo, come and hang out, give them everything that I got, all the shoes and all the clothes, everything, and be like, woo, love it. Thanks for having me.
It was great.
Yeah.
Vans contest. I go to a Vans contest where they made a really crazy ramp where they had an oververt section in the corner where
I remember that one.
Tight transition and like a Taco Bell thing or something. There was a lot of shit on that ramp. It was a fucking mess. You show up in a limo, and I've been in America for a couple months. I've seen I've seen you in Australia, but I never met you. And I'm like, oh shit, Christian's coming, and you go through the parking lot in a white limo, and that girl's in the back with you. Once again, I don't want to add to it, but you're with her in the back, and I'm like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? And you're in the back like, ooh, just in a white limo with the girl, and then you show to the concert, it's like, whoa, and I'm just from afar going, holy shit, dude. Like, you're just like, yeah, whatever. And I'm like, what? Limo, the other guy that's in the contest with you doesn't have anything. Like, nobody had a limo. No one
I
had
drove in my Honda Civic.
Yeah, like, nobody had a good car, and you had a limo, and then I'm super excited to watch you skate, and you're not on it. You're not in it at all. You do 2 backs of theirs in your contest ride, and on the second one, you kick it over the deck and do this big woo in the air. You go woohoo with no board. And I'm like, that's your fucking last ride. What do you mean woohoo? And you were just, I saw your eyes. You're like, I give a fuck, man. And I'm like, how could you got a limo here to do a fucking backseat and kick it over the side of the ramp and be like, woo, let's leave. I'm like, what are you? It was really impressive.
That is funny. That is funny.
But I remember
I love how it's so vivid in your memory too, because we're all still just in our mode doing our thing.
You didn't,
like,
you didn't rock the fakie. Chris Miller
remember.
did a grind on it. Like, anybody that touched the oververt was like out of control.
I do remember Danny Wade doing a blunt or a rock to fakie.
He did
the fakie.
They both did. The 2 freaks did it. That's like where I was like, yeah, you two would do that. Yeah.
That was ridiculous. I mean, him, I could understand because he was so tall, right? I'm like, okay, I get that.
Oh, okay, you're putting it down.
But I was like, Danny? He was like a midget, right? He was literally tiny.
Yeah, but
and
I put
he
it
just
down
went like up and he just went rock to fake, and it didn't even look like anything for him.
Yeah, because he threw it up above him and then came
it was
down,
almost like a blunt to fakie, but a rock to fakie.
It did look like he ollied into it, but he seemed, especially at that time, he was about to introduce the world to how new vert skateboarders skate. Like that scoop, the pop, like the street ollie into a vert trick. Nobody was doing that.
Yeah.
He was doing that. And everybody else that tried to do it, because there was a Schultes out there that was scraping around like a mongrel as well. But Danny Wayne made it look like, oh shit, we should all try and figure. I remember there was a time there where I was trying to get that, and I was like, fucking 80s. I can't, you know what I mean? Like, it's
you're stuck in 80s mode.
I got too many homes backs it is under my belt to get that fucking thing going. I'm just like, whoa, that's all I want to do.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. Oh, Ellis is my man.
Yeah, I was like, I'm saying with Christian, what's that? Your backside threes? I don't fucking need those. Have you seen my fucking body chart lately? It's pretty good.
If we're going into eccentric Christian stories, mine was, I remember you showed up one day because we were at every event. It was every month or every few weeks, right? And Christian shows up one day and his hair is down like almost to his butt in an instant.
Extensions,
and I was like, how is this hair long?
Come on.
Then I actually asked you because I go, how'd you get your hair long? And you're like, extensions, bro.
Yeah.
And I was like, how? And you're like, $1,000.
Yeah.
They were like $1,500.
You didn't even know how you got them. You just know that's how much they cost.
I mean,
that was real hair too.
That was like 80.
Real hair.
What are we talking about? 87, 88?
85. It was
85.
Holiday Havoc.
Wait.
So I showed up at Holiday
85,
Havoc.
$1,500 for hair.
Whose salon do you go to in Hollywood to get that? Like, who
it
do
was
you
in Beverly Hills? I was like, I want to show up with long hair, and they tied individual like things everywhere, so you could.
It took forever,
brush
right?
it looked real.
Yeah,
like everybody looked at me like this. I could just they look at it and they're like, whoa. I guess he held his hair up.
Yeah, extensions.
He had his hair up.
People didn't know that you could get
They couldn't figure it out.
It was baffling.
It was so good. It was so good.
And then with the lycra pants, did you ever burn your hips or your?
Speaking of long hair. Lycra pants went very well with those.
They did. I was like, there's no one else. There's no one else. I remember a guy tried to do it, and I was like, hey, man, don't do that. Get your shorts back on right now. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I'm fucking deadly serious. That's not cool. Whatever you're doing over there, don't do that. You'd already been doing it for like 8 years before this guy showed up with those on. I was like, no one can do that. But I'm a guy that I have pants on, and I used to tape my ankles because I blow my knees out so much that I would do this weird little scoop thing, and I would melt the side of my leg a lot, let alone my hip. Did you ever burn your ass on with lycra pants doing fucking 10-foot airs all day?
It's so funny. I thought about that like all these recent years, and I'm like, never touch the ground. Like I only got a hipper at Wallows, a scar from a hipper at Wallows, and I was wearing the iridescent like surf trunks. I wasn't even wearing lycra. So it probably saved me a little bit if I would have been in my, straight Lycra shorts, you know?
He never slammed
spandex.
You see him fall. It was always that was a trick. If you could fall like Christian, that would be a trick.
Do you have a lot of injuries?
Like spandex shorts, right?
Yeah.
No shirt.
Yeah, I know.
Doing the whole day of skating in backyard pools, ditches, and never got a back scrape. Never got hipper. I just got a hipper a couple of times skating vert, but no marks.
I did a tail grab 5 and got a sequence of it in Thrasher or Trans or something saying Ellis is doing tail grab 5s with no elbow pads. You did 5s with no fucking... You had no shirt, no elbow pads. Your knee pads, if I'm not mistaken, you were one of those people that had the basic one with no knee gasket. You wore the minimum amount of knee pad as well.
Yeah.
And it held up all the way until you got older. Like, did you ever have any...
We manipulated falling because, I was a little lighter. Like now I'm actually 157 and I was a 170 right before the Tony Hawk demo in Utah. And so I basically feel 100% better when I skate because I'm about 12 pounds lighter.
Yeah.
Right?
Wait, you recently did that?
Recently. Like
that was a month and a half ago. And you guys especially you and Cab just clicked into something where it was like, oh, these guys are serious about it now. But since then, you're blasting even higher.
Yeah. I feel like you and I are around this, like I seen you, like I started skating and then I seen you and I was like, oh, that's where I want to be, where I can just do 3-foot airs cruising around. And then now you're blasting, going over him and alley-oop. And I'm like,
lean method.
Man, you're just a little ahead. Like I'm just right behind you, happily right behind you going, yeah, flying around, doing airs. Looks good.
It seems like, we can still get better. We're a little wiser now, than back in the day where you're just trying to push the boundaries and what is, kind of like the progressive side of skateboarding. Yeah. Now it's like, let's enjoy it.
Right.
Let's feel it.
Right.
Let's participate in it and then together with other people. And then it's like, oh, wow, we're back. It's like getting the band back together and having fun in the, practice room. Like when you're jamming, can you imagine all these bands that we worship and idolize when we're kids all the way through till our 20s and watch them, how they learned, where they learned how, you know what I mean? That to me is probably the most precious part of skateboarding is the process of getting to the stage, to the contest, to the demo, hanging out with the homies, pushing each other, thinking about what just happened at the contest, what we need to do. And I think that's that culture and environment you need to have a progressive mind to really push things to a whole nother level. Because without that, I look at skaters today and I can see that they're kind of stuck in this image thing, fitting in thing, peer pressure thing. It's what clique kids. You're in, what team you're on.
Trick of the month.
And all that stuff, there's a lot of pressure, but we felt that in a different way and we took advantage of that. And I always try to encourage the new generation to do something, believe that you could take it farther, you could push it to a better place. And then you got guys like, Jimmy Wilkins skating vert. It's just as pretty as it gets. Moto Shibata. Like these two guys on vert, besides, the Lincoln Uedas, the Sandro Diaz and, the people like that, I think that it's just incredible that they can still push skateboarding to another place that we appreciate more.
I was going to say, it warms my heart watching Jimmy Wilkins skate. Like, I feel like the other day he did a ride and I dropped in and crossed over and just said, hey, man, I'm just super happy that I lived long enough to see you be a skateboarder because I'm so proud of you existing. You know what I mean? Like, just watching
and to be able to witness it.
Even Zach Miller, too. Like, I don't care if you're you have the gnarliest trick recorded. If you have that style, you can't learn that. Like that's one of those one for the ages right there for me. Like that front today, I'm like, ooh, Zach, I know you probably thanked your dad several times, but you need to thank him again because you can't nobody else gets to have that front today. Like you have it's yours, it's Zach, it's not Chris, but it's still excellent. It's because your last
something's
Miller.
Inherited there.
Yeah, like you can't make an ugly one. You only make brilliant.
Yeah, beautiful
aerials. Yeah,
there's nothing like. You cannot buy that. There's no learning that. And that's what's so special about Chris and his son. I mean, both his sons. His other son is like incredible skaters. Lucas.
Yeah, he's awesome too.
And so it's definitely in the blood.
But to live long enough, like you were saying, getting older and liking skateboarding for just skateboarding, because I also feel like there was a time there where you both competed and that's all you thought about all the time. But that was your pocket of where you thought about competing and it meant everything at all times. And now you skateboard and you go, isn't it cool to still be skating and to still know you? And whoa, look at this little Japanese kid that pumps with his fucking hands on his knees. Like you're excited about all of it. Like I feel like there was a time there when I was competing and I was trying to be the best. That's all I could think about was that, which meant there was a lot of stress. Like you were saying, unnecessary stress. Like,
I think you also miss out on camaraderie and friendships when you're so stuck in that too.
See, I'm glad you said that because that's what made me want to bring up. He does have one little regret of not being as social back then, which means hanging out with you. Like you guys, after a contest, you would go hang out and drink and whatever it was. But
it wasn't the after. It was more just the in between.
Well, I just remember,
why did you guys never hang out like?
Well, I just wasn't.
Stacey Peralta told him, stay away from Hosoi's van in the parking lot one time. I believe he's like,
wait, was there a Hosoi van not
to the
to
parking
hang out?
lot? I think some of the team was like, "Yo, Christian smokes. What's the big deal?" And he's like, "Well, that's him. You can't do."
I think that was Steve.
I think something like that.
Yeah,
I
he
think
said
it
that
was
to
Steve.
Cab.
Yeah,
he said that to Cab.
Because I'm over here.
Stevie,
I caught wind of that around that same, but I was just like, I'm not gonna do that because I just know I'm just gonna mess with my skating.
Right.
Like it wasn't helpful to me, so it was just like I'm not doing that. But I remember hearing something like that.
I remember, and I think it was like Indiana or something. We did a demo together. I think we were young, probably 16, like right around there. We weren't even of age yet, and I think we're staying in this hotel together. I mean. We're playing quarters with a bunch of girls in the hotel room. I brought back to the hotel room after the demo, right? And Tony's sitting there, and I'm like, Tony, our first out together, and he's like killing it.
I'm getting
right
embarrassed
now.
being in the room.
He's killing it right now, and I'm like, his competition, and now they request us to go do a demo together. We're like, yeah, we'll go. We meet, and then I'm like, girls, back at the room. We got a full bunch of girls. We're playing quarters, and I'm like, Tony's playing quarters right now. This is insane. I was like, he's sitting there.
So I didn't miss out on everything.
He's just sitting there.
It sounds like
he's sitting there.
He is it. You don't go to the Hosoi van. I
agree. What do you mean? He comes back, there's a whole group of girls.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
but with that comes other stuff. Wow.
Yeah.
So you've always been able to get air really easy and girls to go to the van and play what?
Go to the van.
Play what? Whatever. Hang it. Like you girls come natural
we
to you.
smoked a lot of weed back then. That's pretty much what we did.
When you were 16?
No, when I was 11 and 12.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Hanging out at the Gold Cup series, 12 years old.
The first place I ever, I didn't, but the first place I ever got offered weed was at Marina Del Rey when I was maybe 11. And I'll never forget, I was skating the dog bowl.
I think there was a little contest there, right? Was there?
Yeah. Dog bowl. And this dude.
Aspo,
yes.
Aspo.
And I was maybe 11, probably 10. And this dude's like, yo, man, you want to smoke? And I thought he just meant cigarettes. I'm like, no. He's like, yo, man, what took you up? And I go, no. And he's like, you're a straight skater? And I was like,
I'm a fucking
I'm
10-year-old.
11. Like, what are you talking about?
What about that? Put whatever you want on the, but the first bit was 10 and then whatever job you want to have on the end of it. Yes, I'm sure. I'm sober.
But I'm just saying, and I just bring that up because it was so rampant at Marina. It was, that was it. Like you
it's how we grew up. I grew up fast. I mean, I'm sponsored by Jay at 10 years old, 11, before I got that photo in the mag.
So does that mean you're smoking with those guys?
I'm smoking with Jay, Shogo, all of the guys at the Marina with my dad. We're just, I'm rolling the joints. You know what I mean? It was just part of our culture. 70s was like all about, weed back then. It was Thai stick and Sensimilla, and skunk never even came in yet. Indica wasn't even around yet.
Yeah, you're older, but not that much older. And I'm from the same kind of thing, just in Australia. So we had this weed was everywhere.
Yeah,
Same deal.
and just that whole generation was so different. You know what I mean? We had no one looking over our shoulders. Like now I'm a parent that, takes care of my kids and guides them in this right way so that they don't end up in prison like I did, right? But you also have to allow them to make mistakes, to figure it out, to learn, because I learned probably more from my mistakes than I learned from any successful thing that I've ever done. And I think that that's something that, just being open and transparent about your story, things you struggle with, the things you went through in life can really help a lot of people. And I share that with my kids, transparent, so that they know that these are the things that happen. Repercussions happen with these choices that you make. Yep. And so for me, now it's just such a trip. I was the opposite. I grew up the opposite. My dad was totally open to whatever. We were like test kids, during that time with parents. And what's crazy is his dad and my dad were the only dads at a contest. Yeah. Literally, the whole event was no family, just...
Your dad ran contests as well, right?
Just kids would get dropped off.
Yeah. But not in the early days, he didn't run them. He just would bring me, but Ivan was there and...
Well, soon, 1981, 82.
I mean, they were down. Like they were down together. They were the only dads. And they were just like, oh, hey.
They were the only dads. And it's just so spectacular to see what happened with Tony and even myself. You know what I mean? How that kind of support, encouragement, and just, being there for us put us on this like almost like confident place where we can like really go for it and not, feel like we're being oppressed or we have to do this or that. And they weren't even like this. Okay, so you're going to learn how many tricks today, Tony?
Oh, yeah.
They didn't even care. They would come, bring us. You want to stay here all day? Whatever. Yeah, we'll be in the parking lot. I'll pick you up and drop you off.
A little harsher.
It was such an amazing thing that it happened.
People say that
turned out.
With my son, they're like, is he going to be a skateboarder? I'm like, he's going to be whatever he wants to be. And they're like, you're not going to push him to be one? I'm like, no. I'm like, what? If he wants it, he'll get it. And if he needs help, I'll give it to him. But I'm not like, how many, like, have you been down there? Or even soccer, like he loves soccer. I'm like, go play soccer. Like, if you don't want to play soccer, don't play soccer. Like his mom sometimes gets on me for that. Like he said he's sick. He doesn't want to play. Well, he made a commitment, so he's going. I'm like, okay, guess we're going, buddy.
Oh, yeah. I know that conversation.
Because him and I were about to just check out and go to the beach, but somebody else calls the shots.
It's weird though.
I'm just happy to be here, Christian. I was like, okay, we're going to soccer. Let's go, everybody. Quick.
But the generation of our kids, it's more common that they do skate even just a little than not.
Yeah. Right? Like it's not a weird thing to say.
It's not a weird thing. It's more that it's weird that they never did.
Yeah.
And I've seen your kids, they're nonstop. Mine too. They're just out and it's almost like there's no way you're going to stop that.
Yeah, I think that's the organic way. You know what I mean? We grew up with that kind of fathering and culture where we allow the person to be what they want to be. Not let's mold this kid into like the next, thing. We're like, get
Andre Agassi's dad did that, I believe.
And I think that kind of
he did not have a fun life.
Makes the outcome organic, if they want to skate. And so, but as a parent that skateboards, right? I'm sure he feels the same way. When they're skating, you're like, yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I was going to say.
Oh, that's insane. Oh, that's incredible. Thank you, Jesus. Oh my gosh, he's doing. And then, they start going, you're like, oh, okay. Do anything you want, son. Yeah. Just have fun. And you're like, this, they could really, man, I can't even do that. yeah. Tony's probably doing the same thing. I can't even do that. It's funny. Our kids end up being street skaters too, right?
That's where I was going to go.
I remember the day that I knew Riley was better than me at street skating because we were skating here. We used to have a different setup here. And there was a little pyramid with like a curb ledge on top of it. And he's like, Dad, how do you do frontside kickflip to tail slide? And I was like, Riley, I'm honored that you asked me that, but I don't know. I can't do that. And then show you. And then he goes and tries it and gets into it. And I was like, that's how you do it. And then he learned it. And I was like, he's gone. Those
are proud moments, though, as a father.
I got to say, man, you're both excellent fathers. I feel like as a dad watching you guys, Tony makes more sense because Tony's dad, like you don't look, I'm sorry, dude, smoking weed at 10, it's not a good start. that's not a good start. Someone should have said that's probably not a good idea. But to see where you're at now, like I feel like you guys are in the, I follow like a bunch of people I don't know as well. Your kids' dad is around all the time, pushing them, helping them, encouraging them. Like you guys are super dads. I put you in that category of super dads because I know dads, they love their kids, but they're not around. Like, dude, your Instagram is just, I know what your kids are doing. I know how good they are at skateboarding because I see the posts every day. Does it bother you that they don't skate vert?
No, it
Not at all.
doesn't. It doesn't because,
would you like
I'm like an artist, right? And you want somebody to do what they want to do.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And so for me, of course, I want them to skate vert, do Christ airs and rocket airs and, 540s up, flipped upside down and blast huge methods and tweak airs.
That's all.
For sure. Lean method, 1 foot. Yeah.
Thank you,
I mean,
Christian.
body jars, of course, because
Yes.
I invented that maneuver, by the way.
Thank you.
No, just kidding.
Did you
But,
really?
yeah. You're welcome. But it's definitely something that, it really makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside when they just skate anything. You know what I mean?
Because that is the way of the skateboarder these days is everybody skates everything. But also you have I feel like there was a time there when you guys were 16 that there were some cement parks that were awesome and you were excited to get your parents to drive to them and ride. And I'm from a spot where they didn't have that. But then the next era, then they started building things where I think I was on the tail end. So when I came here, you guys had vert ramps available to skate. They were like Vision had one and some people had them. Otherwise it was a public one that was kind of shitty. But then the cement parks came and now they're everywhere. Like I feel like if I went to Australia, I haven't been there for so long, but I see video every now and then where I go, oh, is that in Melbourne? Like where I'm born?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, dude, you don't know about that? I'm like, no, I don't know about that giant cement skate park with vert bowls and snake runs. And I'm like, man, I called it the Coke can. It was a vert ramp that was metal and it was 3 inches of vert. And I was like, it's pretty good.
Yeah, exactly.
My vert
But
ramp.
I think,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, my favorite ramp. I tell you, that's one of my favorite ramps on the planet.
The old one, the silver
old
one.
one.
Yeah.
The old one.
Wow. Because
It
of the
was
coping, because you could bonk.
Everything, like everything about it, like how the tranny was, the coping was, the texture of the ramp, like even the brick wall that you're skating next to, the building, like
They
all
took it all
that
down.
just
It's all
had
gone.
this rad like vibe. Latimer Road in England was another ramp that had just this vibe that was just,
You remembered that.
spectacular. But yeah, Prey Ran ramp. That's your home park.
I think I saw
No wonder
a
you're
video.
so good.
Well, but that same
one?
thing. Like
Yeah.
the parks we skated, yes, they were famous and iconic. They weren't great, right?
Yeah.
Upland was super gnarly.
I was gonna say it.
crazy vert, super rough. Marina was pretty sick. Del Mar was kinked and crazy, but that's all we had, and we figured it out, and then we could go anywhere.
Right, because if you master the
a
dog
vert
shit.
ramp that had perfect trannies, we were like, this is amazing.
Yeah, but
Like,
but
perfect trannies, like perfect.
but then
Not
going
a
to
kink
Pran
on it.
or like Pizzy Park, which was
Yes.
terrible.
Yep.
We could skate it because
Yeah.
we skated shitty concrete of our whole lives.
Yeah. And the appreciation just to skate anything back then was on a high meter versus like, okay, we need this type of
Oh, please. Yeah, no one
kind of
was
like,
running
ramp. They're like, here's the ramp, here's the bowl. We're like, sick, let's get it. We weren't even thinking because we were so happy to get together. That's one thing about skateboarding that I see a lot more today is that people like the Brazilians and people, even the Americans now are like celebrating each other's skating time together.
I noticed that in the
when they're doing
Olympics.
like video parts, they're like Vans videos, they're fully supporting each, and you could feel the celebration part of each trick versus just a banger trick after banger trick and, great filming. I think there's an emotional side that comes to the skateboarding that I have continued to skate for, not just for the picture in the mag, not for, going to these events, not for doing demos, but for the getting together with your friends, feeling that vibe, pushing each other, talking smack to each other. Like, let's try this trick today. Because I remember as I grew up, that was how sessions were at my ramp. It was like, what are we doing today?
Right.
What's going to happen? What are you going to do? And we all know each other's like, level of skating. So we're always pushing each other past the mark.
Right.
So
You can
that
do
we're
that.
always
Right.
sharpening each other. And it's always a heckle. It was never like, oh yeah, let's work hard. Okay, we're gonna jock it up today. No, we were hecklers. And
I've been friends with Kerry Hart
Hart
for like 20 years, and I don't think he's ever said one nice thing to me ever. And he's one of my best friends. This is how we talk to each other. What's up, fuckhead? You know what I mean? How's your day, shithead? I'm like, good, dickhead, kook. You know what I mean? Like, go fuck yourself. It's like, that's it. That's the conversation. I'm like, I'm pretty sure we still love each other.
Cool, right?
Yeah.
I remember going to your ramp. I only got to go once or twice. But it was a fun vibe. Did you go?
Yeah. I got stories.
I remember
I got a commercial with you guys, and then they took me out of the commercial because I didn't have I was Australian. The Frosty the Flakes, they're great commercial. But they filmed at your ramp.
And I got the gig. I was out of town and I couldn't do the commercial, dude.
Oh, that's why you didn't get it? Wait, and they filmed it at your ramp?
It was me scheduled to do it, and then I couldn't be there. I had to be like some out-of-town thing.
I didn't do it. I did one with Chris Miller.
No, it was Cilician. Was Cilician in it or something like that? Steve Cilician.
No, I can't. I think so.
But somebody
okay.
You know what I mean?
But I had it, and it was $30,000, and back then that was.
Yeah, I was.
I'm
so
like,
bummed.
wait, Americans? I'm like, well, I'm a millionaire. I'm going home to retire. And then they're like, wait, you're Australian? You don't have a green card
or a SAG?
We can't give you.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
yeah.
Is that bad?
It was a national commercial.
Yeah, it's bad.
National commercial.
What I remember from your house though, I remember you showed me around your house. Your entire bedroom and closet was leather jackets, like covering the floors. All like I don't even know if you had any other clothes besides leather jackets.
Well, it was definitely Jimmy's, leather jackets, and vests. I had like literally
no shirts,
vests stacked upon each other. 10 feet long in a closet in the master bedroom.
So did you just go shopping a lot?
Oh, every day.
Like at expensive places, or what kind of?
For sure. Like down on Melrose, there was all these vintage stores. I'd get like motorcycle jackets from the 50s and stuff like that. Belts that are like $500. Like it was ridiculous.
And were you making enough money to buy stuff like that, or were you kind of living at
shoes and boots? I'd wear patent leather. I got a good story. I wore Spurs to the club, like actual cowboy Spurs on the back of my patent leather cowboy boots with ripped Levi's from Aardvarks on Melrose, no shirt, vest on, long hair, rings on every finger, full on like coming into the club like with Spurs. I never seen anyone wear Spurs at the club. And I was like, I'm going to be the first.
Yeah.
Bringing it to Hollywood.
You're saying nobody jumped on that? That was just
that's the real reason why you do things. Like I knew no one's going to wear spandex.
Right.
I was like, I'm doing this because no one's going to do it. They're like, man, Holmes is out of his mind. He's crazy. That's dumb. You're like, bro, all my homies, I'm like, why didn't you like kind of like go, bro, it's a little bit, I don't know. It's questionable.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, and then looks a little workout, you know what I mean? But no one said a thing to me. They were like, dude, sick. And they're like, I'm not putting them on. You know what I mean? No one's going to wear it.
But it was because you always could back it up with your skating no matter what. So it was always like, that's funny, but wow.
Same kind of goal though. Do what no one else
What about your birthday party? That just came to me. Was that your 21st?
21st birthday.
Wait, I love how he knows the number of what happened.
Well, it's 21, so it's US, and it was
Ika Mouse played at my birthday party. Walked out and sang happy birthday.
It was a full like his own Lollapalooza. It was wild.
Yeah. Where?
It was wild at the Scream.
3,500 people showed up. Like
remember that the club, the Scream.
It's at the Parkview Plaza, right down near MacArthur Park and all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We went, I only saw you for a minute. Yeah, 3,500 people.
Multi floors. It was incredible.
It was wild.
How do you like, 'cause it seems like you were just all about going to nightclubs and living that life.
For sure. Dancing was like our main thing. Shooting pool, going dancing and skating.
What kind of
every
dancing
day.
were you doing?
Well, disco, hip hop, soul, Motown. Then it was like, oldies,
And you would go to clubs that had like a dance floor for that kind of stuff. And it didn't like, you'd be like, oh, it's so-and-so night. I love that music.
Well, we followed who we knew DJ'd, right? So there was a club every single night of the week.
Okay.
And then there was blues bars like the King. So we would go to like the blues bars.
They were tapped in. I mean, they were like,
every
they were
single
running
day there was
Hollywood.
Another
They were
place
tapped
to
in.
go every day of the week was a different place. And we just rotated every night.
So how long before that lifestyle chewed into your skateboarding ability?
Well, this is like probably, so 88, I turned 21.
Yeah.
I'm now moving into like W.C. Fields' house. I got my ramp in Hollywood, and everything.
Are you buying all this with the money that you make from skateboarding?
Yes.
Fucking hell. So, and this is at 21.
Yeah.
That's
so
when
I was making when I was in, I think, 9th grade, $2,000 a month, selling for $1 a board, sell 2,000 boards a month, my Sims model, right? So I'd go to school and I'd have like $500 in my pocket. I'm like, it's my money. She's like, it's your money. You can do whatever you want, my mom. I'm like, give me $500. I'm taking it to school.
What'd you do with it?
Go and spend it at whatever, eat, kind of like what I do now. I take everyone out to eat. You know what I mean? I've been doing this my whole life, taking care of my friends.
But 88,
I mean?
yeah, same. That's when I moved to Fallbrook, built my big ramps, and money was just flowing. But flowing out too, not just in, but flowing out.
I spent as much money as I made. I'd make like 20 to 40,000 a month, and I'd spend it at just as fast. And I was like, yeah, we're all going to Hawaii. Boom, let's go.
Yeah, I did that a couple times.
Everyone leather jackets.
Yeah.
Bang, let's go.
So at one point, then it all dries up before you go to prison, right?
Oh, this is like 10 years before.
Right. So for 10 years, you ran what kind of a game? Where you got no money?
Well, yeah. I was back to square one, kind of like trying to figure things out. And Chicken and Kelly Belmar opened up their pools in Orange County, 91.
Yeah.
I heard about it.
Yeah.
I think Mickey Alba called me. There's these pools down in Orange County. You got to check out. I was like, sounds sick. And the club scene in Hollywood, I was single at this moment. I was just out of my mind with a lot of drama going on. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go check it out. I went down Orange County and it was like such a sick little scene, like backyard pool. Skateboards were still not quite, skinny and small wheels yet, baggy pants. And then we were having to wear copers at their pools at that time.
Yeah, that's right.
And I was like, this is strange. Copers in a pool.
Yeah.
I was like, and they're like, yep, copers in the pool. I'm like, well, whatever. We're skating these perfect pools. And then I slowly, because being single, you're kind of trying to find your identity in everything. And I was trying to find it in party, girls, fame again, that whole thing where you're the guy, going out, stroking your ego, trying to figure things out. And then street skating came in. And that's when I started Melk Skateboard Goods, MSG.
Yeah.
And it was the upside down Star Trek logo with the M in it.
Yeah.
And that was with me and Chicken. And we got into sponsoring the new street kids. So I picked up like Ethan Fowler. He might be up for Focus, but this was like Jerron Wilson, Richard Mulder, Weston Korea, all these little rippers that we were sponsoring for street, and then Jose Cerdas and all the local Orange County kids that we sponsored as well. But we just got into, I thought I was going to be a businessman like Tony. He started doing Birdhouse, and I was like, okay, we're doing this. We're like the new company owners that are going to sponsor this new generation. But I was still skating. I was still raging. If there was a contest, I was beating everyone on my team. I always, kind of like was skating. That's why when I changed the name to Tough Skates right before that, and then the skate culture rising. So I did it with Vision, changed from Team Hosoi Santa Cruz to Tough Skates on Vision, and then went to Skate Culture Rising with Herbie Fletcher and Christian Fletcher.
So you're trying to find.
Well, we were in a transition stage, like no money's coming in, so we're having to recreate our identity again.
I don't want to be too weird on it, but addiction wise, are you pretty heavy into it around that time?
This is right before it. So after I moved to Orange County, all of a sudden speed became a little bit more of like a kind of like a social drug
in Orange County
versus when I was in LA. We would go out to clubs, smoke weed, do ecstasy, and do coke until the coke ran out, and then you're smoking crack. You know what I mean? At the parties,
I remember that
with all the your friends, the models and the actors and everyone.
I was
Hollywood.
just doing it with losers, but anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, and so when I moved down to Orange County, I tried speed.
Okay,
and I was like, this stuff is dope.
Oh,
because it doesn't turn you into like this marshmallow like coke does, and then you're just like, and now you got to therapy people, because I was always a talkative person.
Right.
Whenever I did. So I'm talking, and next thing you know, they turn into these just weirdos when they get on, ecstasy and cocaine and crack.
Right.
So
now you're
like,
just up a lot.
Well,
not
now
sleeping.
I just did a little though. I just snorted a little speed, and I was like going faster, going higher, doing.
Wait, you
more.
were doing it in skating?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And it was helping.
Well, at first.
How long's that first? Like a month?
No, the first, year, I was just a little bit here and there. So it was only social. It wasn't every day, all day, to where it became that in the mid 90s.
Okay.
When I started smoking it, and then I started eating it. I shot it for a little while. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
and
you
that's when it got kind of like my skateboarding was hindered. When you see me at these events now, I'm not progressing. I'm just showing up, doing a higher, and just trying to, party, really.
Right.
I was just living that.
That was like a
like
trip to
party.
Japan.
Yeah. Even then, like I was like pretty gnarly radical, just embracing the whole underground, drug scene, like not afraid. Like I was crazy.
In Japan, you were doing it?
Oh yeah. In Japan. I stayed
we
in
went,
Japan.
Yeah, we went to Japan for demos. Was you, me,
95.
Wade Spire,
The
and
X
Omar
Games was the next month.
Yeah, and so the next game was the next month, and there was a big push at the X Games that it was going to be like Christian and Tony are back, and for a new audience, and so they did these profiles on us, and I knew it was going to be. I didn't know how big it was to me, but I knew it was pretty significant. And then when we were there, the distributor or the shop said, "Oh, can you guys stay to do more demos?" And I was like, "No, we're going to this event in Rhode Island, this ESPN event." And I'll never forget, you were like, "Bro, I'm here. Whatever you got, I'm here."
So I had a bench warrant, right?
Where?
In
America?
California.
I didn't know that.
Why you
So I had a bench warrant. So I was already kind of like running from my bail bondsmen locally. So I went to Japan, and now I'm like, I'm going to fly back, and I'm going to be going to the X Games. They're going to know where to find me at all these places. So that was the moment I never showed up to another public event, except for when I flew back 6 months later after spending 3 months in Japan, 3 months in Hawaii. I was just like staying as far away as long as I could until I had to face the music and come back. And now there's a Vert demo at the trade show at ASR in San Diego.
I know the story.
Right? In San Diego, 6 months later, they're like, "Christian, you missed the X Games. It was amazing." I'm like, shh, I don't need no stinking X. But really, I was running from all these, legalities, and I just played it off. But then their bail bondsmen were at the
ASR, ASR, yeah,
waiting for me, right, to show up. I fly in from Hawaii into San Diego. I get there. They're like, "They're here." And I go, "Man, I wish I could skate the demo." And I think Duncan was like, "We'll just not say your name. I'll call you Holmes on the ramp. Your name will be Holmes." And I was like, "Let's do it." They sat there, watched me do a demo named Holmes on the ramp, right? We're killing it. I'm blasting big, huge Benihanas across the ramp. I'm like, "Dude, skateboarding feels amazing, right?" And I'm just like thinking to myself, don't act like Holmes. Don't act like,
How is that possible?
And I get off, and my booth is down there. And I stayed away from my booth. I'm like a few aisles over.
The one that say Christian Hosoi all over
and somebody runs up to me, and they're like, "Dude, they know you're here." There was a kid in the booth. They were sitting there, and he's like, "Dude, Christian was ripping that demo." And they're like, "What? Christian was here?" They're like, "Yeah, you didn't see him on the ramp?" And they're like, "What?" And all of a sudden they were like on full, like checking the whole place.
Yeah.
And then he saw it, came and told me, and I'm like, "I'm out of here." I'm starting to walk to the door. I'm walking to the door, acting like just hopefully nobody sees me. And I'm almost to the like lobby doors, right? And I'm going, and all of a sudden I feel somebody grab me. Like one of my friends just like grabs me. I go, bam! I'm like literally exploded thinking it's them. And I looked at the guy. I can't even remember who it was. I just looked at him. I said, get away from me. And I kept going to the door. And I feel bad if that's you, bro, and you're watching. I am sorry. He's like, that was me. That punk. I still can't believe you would do that.
Well, now it kind of makes sense. I wouldn't feel bad now.
And I made it. And that was the last public place that I ever showed up for.
Wait a minute. So you made it out.
Running from a
How much longer did you stay?
For 5 years. The next 5 years until I got arrested.
Wait,
I was running with a bench warrant.
For 5 years?
From 95 all the way till 2000 when I got arrested. So that's the kind of life I lived. I was like full Bonnie and Clyde kind of like living.
And in those 5 years, were you weren't sober? You were still on it, right?
No, I did it every day.
Right.
Speed every single day.
So you go to jail and you get sober. In jail.
Yeah.
And then in jail you find
I mean, that's when I opened up the Bible for the first time.
In prison.
And it's so funny. I get there and I'm like, what happened to my life? How come he's not here? My friend, man, he's done so much more terrible stuff. I'm like trying to figure out why it's unfair for me to be in there. Yeah. Right. I'm doing the woe is me.
Right.
And then, my girlfriend at the time saying, hey, Christian, you know what? God's going to help us get it through. And I was like, my name's Christian, nicknamed Christ. I invented the Christ Air. And I've never opened up a Bible. Right. And so I was like looking around, and then there happens to be this OG Hawaiian dude who was in there for a long time. He's like, what you looking for? I go, a Bible. And he goes, here, you can use mine, because there was none available. And I took it back to the room and I'm looking at it and I'm like, wow, it's all worn out. He's got writings all in it. And I'm looking and I'm like, God, get me out of here. Get me bail. I'll never do drugs again. I sat there right before I read. I'm like, get me bail. I just want to go deal with my family, make things right. Come back. I'll do the time and I'll promise I'll speak to Kit. I did this whole like thing in my head. And then I started reading and it was Genesis. I was like, Star Trek movie. What's that? Revelation. I couldn't get it. Psalms, Proverbs. I was like, what are these books? This is psycho. And it's all like numbers and columns and 2 columns of sentences with numbers behind them, scriptures, right? I was like, this book is crazy. It's like an index. I'd never read one word in it. And I finally got to Kings. That's where I opened it. And I was like, okay, this must be cool. And it was when King David was about to die and he was charging his son Solomon saying, hey, if you'll follow the Lord all the days of your life, there'll always be a king on the throne and it'll prosper you. And immediately the Holy Spirit spoke to me saying, this is true, Christian. And that's 2 chapters into my first opening of the Bible.
How many days of reading it is this?
First day.
First day.
This is like a few days into prison.
So then that guy, I take it, like puts you, like you start asking more questions and people start helping you along that path?
That night, I just read so much because I was so enamored with it. I was like, how come I've never read this? It just
Let me ask you this.
dawned on me.
Could have you got speed in prison?
Yeah, you can get anything you want in prison.
So you were just like, no, I'm fucking getting sober and I'm getting my life together.
But that was that radical, mind change. Like I realized with the spiritual markers, just my name and the tricks, like my name on the cover of Thrasher, Christ, inventing the Christ Air in 85, 2000. I've never read a Bible before. And I'm sitting there going, this is nuts.
At what point,
that's the crazy, moment.
At what point did you realize there was a chance you could get out early?
Well, that's the thing. I realized I couldn't get out. And that's what caused me to really think about what my life was about and why I was here. That was I just here to exist and be the best skateboarder in the world for a moment, enjoy life and do good as possible, and then, die with some sort of, eulogy saying, hey, this was a great man? Or is there a greater purpose? Is there meaning? Is there an afterlife? That's a huge one for me because I traveled the world 10 times over. I read Taoism books, Buddhism books because Bruce Lee was my idol when I was a kid.
Back then you read those books and you still hadn't read the Bible?
Because I worshipped Bruce Lee since I was young. Yeah. So whatever he did, I did. And philosophy was a part of my life with my father. If you know my dad, he's like that kind of like Yoda back when I was young. Right. You would always school all of us sitting down while we're smoking weed on things in life and what we're going to be doing and the kind of inspiring things to cause us to want to be who we want to be. Right. And so that really, was a moment in my life where I was like, you know what? God, if you're real, show up. That moment. It's like that one moment when everything hits you and you have this encounter. And I just remember all this like guilt, all the shame, all that hurt, all the pain kind of like washed off my shoulders at that very moment, literally. I'm in jail just like a week. And I could feel like there was a new purpose for my life. It wasn't just to exist. Like supernaturally.
And let me get this right. You were under the impression that you were not getting out of prison.
Well, when you...
Like how long until you find out that you might have a chance of getting out soon?
Well, I walked in, general population. I've never been in for anything. I don't have any issues with people. So I go into general population. They're like, Christian Hosoi, what's up? Right when I get there. Okay. Saw you on the news, knew you were coming. I was like, whoa, what are you here for? He's like, murder. I'm like, sick. All right. And he's like, yeah. I go, so what about my case? He goes, 10 years, bro. No worries. You'll be out of here and no problem. I'm like, how long are you doing? He's like, 140 years. Right. Life in prison. You'll be out in no time. I was like, well, that's kind of like a good way to look at things right now compared to his. It eased my 10 years, I thought, is life already. At 32, I was like, 10 years is like life in prison.
Fair enough.
And so all of a sudden I was like, what is going on? And all those moments of like trying to process what kind of choices you made that got you there. Yeah. How could things be different? And I embraced that moment and I just had to like dig deep. You know what I mean?
So how many years total did you do?
Almost 5 years. So 4 and, like a half, 3/4.
Anybody try and beat up Christian Hosoi in prison?
I didn't have any issues, which,
awesome.
Thank you that skateboarding is cool. You know what I mean? I knew it was cool. Grew up in Venice. All the homies thought it was cool. It's kind of like a rebellious kind of like lifestyle. Yeah. It's a survivor thing. It's kind of like gangs. Yeah. You have your, look at me and Tony's fans were like ganging up. You know what I mean? So there's that seriousness about it that in prison, everybody was a fan. So I was like sick. The sheriffs were a fan. The COs were fans. All the gang members were fans. So I ended up getting, pretty, good, it was a good trip.
And you stayed out of trouble, obviously, like you didn't piss anybody off. So
well, right from the get-go, we were doing Bible studies after every dinner, every night in county jail. And
all these people that are doing Bible studies with you, are they not fucking crazy?
Half of them were Hawaiian inmates because there was 400 of us that had to be, we were at the San Bernardino jail because there's no room at the county jail in Hawaii. Oh, so they would move us from there and we were all housed here. And then if there was a court date, we would have to get flown back to Hawaii for our court date and flown back.
So that's what I was trying to figure out because I know the day you got out, you went and skated in Hawaii, right? So when you were released in Hawaii?
Well, I was there. They were trying to give me they appealed my case. I got 70 months. Under my case, it's a mandatory 120 months case, right? I had the mandatory minimums
10 years.
Oh, okay.
Over my situation. So my judge, there was a case law in court for like a couple months that took away the mandatory minimums. And my judge loved me, my testimony. I already did the Thrasher interview, sharing my testimony. I've got people writing letters on my behalf. I'm speaking to Scared Straight programs. I had 6 sheriffs write letters on my behalf saying, this kid has changed. He's helping. It'll be better to be out than to be in. And this is probably a year and a half into my sentence.
Oh, shit. Okay.
So I've already did a lot of post-rehabilitation.
What's that?
It's like what happens after you mess up. What are you doing? Are you progressing? Post-rehabilitation is post-rehab. So I did a whole bunch. I had a sheriff bring in his whole church because I'm now running Bible studies even inside there.
Oh, shit. Okay.
The sheriff would come in and sit in the Bible study with us. And it was a rad time because I didn't grow up in church. So I didn't know how you're supposed to preach or read the Bible or how a church is ran. I didn't even think of that. I was just reading.
You're
the word
learning all
and
this
living
stuff,
it.
all this stuff in prison
On our own.
and the whole time. I mean, I'm an addict. You didn't think of, like, did you have a sponsor? Are you doing NA in prison? Like, or you're now, you've given your life to the Lord and that's what's keeping you sober.
Yeah. I mean, really, I had this whole new mindset that, man, I can't wait to get out and share the love of Christ with people, because
you don't have
eternity.
to-
But when you got out, were you tempted at all?
No.
Not at all.
Not
'Cause
at
I know
all.
you could get
Not
it in
at
prison, but I'm just wondering if you
Not
once
at
you
all.
got out.
Like, all of a sudden I had this new identity. You know, 2 Corinthians 5:17 says, all those who are in Christ are a new creation. Old things passed away, all things become new. So when I read that, I went, you mean I'm not that guy responsible? No, I've forgiven you. All of a sudden, I wasn't that old guy anymore. I don't have to beat myself up over my old choices. All of a sudden, I had this newfound freedom to own who I am and to be the best I can be now, and to do stuff to change the world that I lived in, and that's people. So right when that happened, 6 months into my sentence, I was on fire for God. It was changing my whole mindset, and I couldn't wait to get out, but I'm looking at 10 years. So for me, all I sat there and did was focus on my inner man and not the outer man, which I don't think I would have ever done out here.
No.
With all the distractions of life, I trip out on people who find like that ability to spend time in the Word of God, to spend time in prayer, to love to go to church, to want to hang out and talk about God. It's like so difficult in this society, because you got to fit it into family time, work. You got to fit it into, friends, hanging out. And so for me, that time was so probably pertinent for me to get to where I was
because you realize how important
inside.
it is to keep that for the rest of your life. Because if you don't have that,
but it was just real. Like, I can see when things are like kind of up here in their walk with God, and it's just not down here. So it's almost like a ritualistic, religious kind of walk, right?
Yeah.
But then there's those that have been really touched by God, that their lives have been they know they've been delivered and completely set free, for sure. Because I'd be killing it right now.
you know me, dude.
Tearing people to pieces, high as a kite, running.
I don't know about tearing people to pieces. I just remember you high.
There was a lot of collateral damage because of my
there.
addiction, and I was having fun. That's
right,
the
but
thing
you
about
weren't fun to be around.
Well, if it depends.
I like how he's disputing that.
He thought.
Yeah,
Look, you might have thought it, but
well, to somebody who's not into speed, for sure,
That's what
it wasn't
I'm
into
saying.
their
There you
thing.
go.
But for the speed addicts and the drug dealers,
you were great.
and
Right.
we were rock stars.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I'm just saying, I remember you before you went in, and as a person that's always looked up to you, I remember those last couple of times not being my favorite times to hang out with you, and then to see you come back and be even better than your best day when I knew you, because obviously I'm not Tony and I knew you coming up, but your attention, your focus to like being a friend, being concerned about other people's lives, it's so apparent that you're here in the
you're
moment.
present.
As opposed to what you were. So I've always thought that you and Stevie are the only two people, I don't believe in that stuff, but I don't have you especially and Caballero are the two people where people have tried to sort of join me in bashing religion, where I've gone, look, you can each to their own. Sure, what works for me, that's great. But I know two people personally where I God hasn't talked to me, but I'm fucking happy he talked to you, dude, because I was super sad what you were going to be. And now you're awesome. You're such a great dad and an inspiration to everybody. You're still skateboarding. Like, you're a great dude. And that person was almost dead thanks to drugs. Yeah. So if religion pulls you out, then fuck yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm not fond of those days, but now I realize that, if God can change a person like me, right?
Yeah.
That's a miracle, right? And that's when you have to question whether, like, you're like, hey, Christian and Cab, well, maybe, you know what I mean? It's pretty convincing. They sure do believe it. Who's believing what, and what's believing who? So for me, I think that's the authentic side of what we love, what we do, how we treat people, how much we care. And I think that's what's going to reach people like me reaching you, to say, like, check out what I'm into and me check out what you're into. I'm all for that. Like, I've always been for that. And so for me, that's how I share my faith with people. And it's always like, it's got to be authentic and real. I can't stand posers, never did, right? Back in the day. It was a big deal for skateboarders.
Why are you looking at me?
Posers.
When he says that.
He was getting
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
pointing
I
at
see.
us posers.
Yeah. I mean,
I
we
definitely
know
wasn't
how
in it. I know
serious
that.
that is. And it's the same thing. Like, I think you got to be the real deal or else it's just going to be phony and fake.
Right.
And that to me is what's going to either, be understood or not. And then it's a good conversation now. We can have a great conversation. It's not an offense. I'm not over here trying to like sell you guys on what I have and you're not selling me on what you have.
Right.
But you can see how much we're passionate about
I'm just like,
everything that we love.
Are you happy?
You know what I mean?
Is
Yeah,
everything
and
good with your life? Then awesome. That's where I stand.
Oh, it's so great. It's so great to see you out and about and skating, and the reverence that people have to see you. Like,
Yep.
I see it from afar, when we were in Salt Lake City and when we're doing stuff, it's so exciting. And I do remember in those darker days when things were starting to be on the rise, and I said it many times to people, I said, Christian should be here. Like, he would love this. I mean, especially X Games, late 90s, when it was like, dude, we're back. Vert is back. This is crazy. This is Christian's element right here, And so I'm just so thankful that you're back.
And I remember hearing all you guys talking like that, and that made a difference for me. It did, especially after I got arrested. Everybody was like, man, if you were here, things would be different. Man, we're just glad that you didn't die. Man, we're stoked you're not still on the street. You know what I mean? And to me, that made me a stronger person going through my affliction and trial and tribulation. Huge. All them coming to, my defense and supporting me during that time while I was in, because who knows what I was going to be like when I got out. Everybody was like, what's Holmes going to be like now that he's out? Right. All of them were betting that I'd be back in the club raging again.
Right.
You know what I mean? And, it feels good to be able to be a man of your word, to have conviction, to love your family and your friends, and really what you do, because skateboarding to me is so precious, right? I can tell we love it. We're kind of like completely obsessed with it.
That's pretty much our show.
Yeah. Right?
That's how much
People
we
seem to
love it.
like it.
And it's our lives,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yes.
our lives. And that's why the show is so just organically real. And every story, I think, is genuine. It's
Right.
not coming from a pretentious place.
No, and it's not being told for any reason that's going to benefit. Like, I don't have a plan in my pocket that this benefits me by having this conversation. It's just, this is what we are. These are things that I've learned. These are things I find entertaining. Hopefully you do too.
Yeah.
That's the show is, But with skateboarding, to me, is up, like, as a guy that left and pursued another career and then came back to skateboarding, like, I didn't go to school. I didn't get an education. I got an education from skateboarding, and it was almost as good, if not better, because I make good money and I have a really good job. Like, it's a job that's not work, and they say that those are really good jobs when you get those. And skateboarding taught me that.
If I could just skateboard for a living, I wouldn't have to work a day in my life because it's not working. You know what I mean? I said that young. I was like 14, turning pro. I wanted to turn pro at 12. I told Stacy Peralty, I want to turn pro. Stacy's like, Christian, it's not your time. I'm like, when will you turn me pro? He's like, 2 years. I go, I'm out. I said, I'm leaving. You know what I mean?
That's why I got in. Woo!
Well, here.
So he said the
Tony's
same thing
riding
to you.
for
You were like, yeah,
Dogtown.
I'll take that.
Check it out.
I'll do
Tony's
2
riding
years.
for Dogtown.
I wasn't
with
asking
Mike
to be
Smith
pro.
and Gator, right? You're riding for Dogtown. I'm riding for Bones Brigade with Ray Bones and Cab and McGill and, Alan Gelfin. And then I'm like, I'm out. You know what? You're not going to do it. I went to Dogtown. There,
Yeah.
Christian ride
For a hot
us
minute, it was a crazy
hot
team.
minute. And then he went to Bones Brigade. I went to Dogtown. Dogtown went out of business. Mike Smith was on and he was going to get his model. And he shows up to Marina with like a Madrid model. He's a Christian. Dogtown went out of business. I just got a model from Madrid. And I was like, you're kidding me. I had my graphics. I'll show you my graphics. It's a yin and yang with samurai swords, Christian Hosoi model, samurai swords my dad did with the cross on top of it that says Dogtown. It says Christian Hosoi model, big old flash beam of light my dad did, and it's all Dogtown skates.
Yeah.
I can't wait to like get with Jim Muir and do like a reissue or something with it.
I was on Dogtown as well, just to try and hang out with you guys for a little bit. I believe it was the end of my career as well.
That wasn't that era. Yeah. There were literally four of us on the team, and
mine was,
I got the call. Mike Smith told him I got the call from Stacey Peralta at home, just like, hey Tony, Stacey Peralta. I'm like, what's up? I heard Dogtown went in business. I'm like, they did? That sucks.
You didn't even know?
No, because
he was calling to kick you on the team.
Yeah.
So you really did. You left and you replaced him.
I mean, it was kind of like that for sure. It was like that. And
we're still here.
How's this? It took me 2 years to finally turn pro. So I turned pro at 14, but I went from Dogtown. So now I'm at Dogtown. I'm like, sick. I'm going to have a Dogtown model, Shogo Kubo, Bob Biniak, Jim Muir, Paul Consent. I'm going to have a Dogtown model. And that went, boom, exploded. I'm like, dang. And Bowman was like, hey, Christian, take you to Tom Sims. I go to Tom Sims. I'm like, Tom Sims, what? Pure juice, snake wheels, comp twos. I'm like, dude, this is insane. I went from Stacey Peralta to Dogtown. Now I'm at Sims in his office. And he's like, yeah, we got a deal. You're going to turn pro for Sims. I'm like, sick. This is amazing. Doug de Montmorency. What? I was like, Lonnie Tough.
Oh, yeah, Doug de Montmorency.
I was like, what? Are you kidding me right now? This is insane. Bowman's like, yep, I told you. And then he sold the license to Brad Dorfman. And his sister was doing Mad Rat shorts at the time down in Costa Mesa. And I was like, of course, I'm going to get like jacked again, right? I think I was 13, turning 14, or like I just turned 14. And then I go down to meet Brad and he's like, hey, I'm like, how's it going? He's like, yep, so we're looking forward to doing your pro model. I was like, oh, sick, right? He's like, I got the guy working on it. I'm going to show you next week. And then I pull up the next week and then he showed me the Rising Sun board. Boom. And he goes, this is your model. I was like, that's sick. Yeah. I was like, that is a sick graphic right there.
Yeah, it is.
And it was like the launch of my career, but it was 14 instead of 12. I was like, man, I wanted to be young. Didn't happen.
I wanted to be young. We were both 14. We turned pro.
Yeah. And Stacey, I was like, Stacey, looking at him, he's like, 2 years. And all I could think of is, he said, 2 years, I'll turn you pro.
So
I was like, you know what? I would have been pro.
You could have stayed
on Powell, but immediately, you know, I was already on a journey.
Yeah. I was gonna say you don't fit.
Yeah,
you never did.
Yeah, it was almost like it was it became this good, almost culture of skateboarding. The people from different groups, whether it was Southern California,
it was the yin and yang.
Yeah, right. It really just made it, you know.
Yeah, that was a good thing. That's too much. That's every single good vert dude in the world. Oh yeah,
if he was on PAL, yeah. I remember I got to go to Winchester around that time. I skated Winchester once, and I went with Cab, and Cab was the king of Winchester. And the first thing he said to me, I just got on PAL. First thing he goes, "What do you think about Christian leaving PAL?" And I was like, "Did he? I don't know anything. You know, I'm in San Diego." I was like, "I don't know." He's like, "I think it was a big mistake."
Of course.
Okay, I don't know.
It hasn't changed at all. No. Like from 14 that
would have made Cab like 15. I was 12,
16, so
11.
He's
yeah.
4 years older than us.
Yeah.
So he's 57.
Yeah, so he was 16 at the time. Yeah, wasn't he? I just that's like I remembered that and skating the washboard at Winchester. Those are the only two things I remember, but it was sick.
Cab advice.
But Christian,
it's always great.
You are a pioneer of so many things. We thank you for being here, and you are now the pioneer of having our longest podcast.
Sick.
Way longer than we've ever done before. Yeah. But I'm stoked.
So if it was a high air contest, we'd be breaking records.
That's what's
you
up.
would be.
Yeah, I know. We would just be hanging
whatever.
out.
We're breaking records.
We'd be bailing them. We'd be trying to bail them at that height, kicking our board over the fence. Woo!
It'd be like, I've been in this fucking demo before. Like, it's happened where you've done that and I've gone, fucking, not really, but okay. And then you're like, I'm like, Japan Air was the second biggest air anyone's done besides this asshole.
No, but the Japan Air, my knee would drop and they would mark the lowest part,
No.
and I would never get it.
No, we fought for that. I remember fighting for that because they would do that to me too with the method. So now your lowest part of your body, and we're like, no, it's the board. And it was kind of like an argument.
Yeah. But he's always going to win anyway. It didn't matter.
I was going to say the lowest part's still going to get
why am I splitting hairs? Christian did the highest air.
There was a contest where Tony was the guy who went 9.5 feet.
I've seen you both do
I was
9.5
like this.
and
I was
10.
like this. Tony just went 9.5 feet. And I had to beat him. I went 10. Right?
Yeah.
And beat him. But I was like,
You better. Yeah.
this is pressure right
Good.
now.
Make
I
him
was like,
sweat. Thank you.
Tony was so skinny.
You're not getting away
It
with
was
fucking 9.5
insane.
foot airs, Christian.
It was
I need the
insanity.
full 10 feet.
And
if you're
he
coming to
just-
my town, I need 10.
I couldn't believe how high Tony went. I think it was, I can't even remember where it was.
Oh,
But it was insane.
okay. One last thing.
You beat Sergi, you beat everybody. I think you got second.
I had, once in a while. Once in a while, I'd get a good landing. And I could make it. Like, if I got a good landing, I could make the next wall. You know, a lot of people get good landings and they just blow up.
You
but
got
I could
10
hold
foot when
together.
you needed it. I remember that.
But this is funny. So we're at Mancha's at the contest that happened a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Mancha's ramp, the backyard B team backyard blast. And Christian and I are the only, you and I and who else?
Tony Magnuson was there.
Yeah. So there are 4 or 5 of us in the Legends division, which is already just exhausting. There's only 5 of us and they got a half hour. So we're just,
Oh, man, you got to keep taking rides.
we're already old.
Yeah.
No, cool.
And then Duncan was like, why don't we see some doubles?
Why don't you do some
me and I.
doubles, Duncan?
No, between me and I.
No,
And
I know. I'm just trying to fuck
But then
with
we
Duncan.
realized that we had never actually done doubles.
Ever.
Ever.
Yeah. And
Insane.
but I got
Insane
this is
moment.
funny. And so he's looking at me and says, what do we do? I go, well, I don't know. Do you want to like I could go over you? And I'll never forget the look on your face was like,
No.
you're not going over me.
I don't know who you think you're talking to, but it's like, what
I had to
trick do you want to
calculate
do
that.
under me?
Right.
That's what I'm asking you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, yeah, you go over me. Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Immediately goes,
Calm
I'll
down,
do an
champ.
alley-oop over your frontside grind. I was like, all right, let's do it. And then we're like, okay, I'll do the opposite. We'll do the same
Yeah,
thing
we
the
had a plan.
opposite.
So too,
You know?
but the reason I brought it up because this is here, got a photo of it, and it's still for sale.
Yeah,
There you go.
this is a huge thing, guys.
Right
just
here.
to support the skateboard project.
Yeah,
You know, goes to building skate parks. Tony's been doing this forever with the Tony Hawk Foundation, now the skateboard project, right?
skate park project. Yeah,
Project.
but and this was not supposed to be some pitch, but it's here. I love the story that we got to do this first time. This is documentation. We signed 2,500 of these.
2,500.
Yeah, so half the money goes to skate park project and TonyHawk.com.
It's
Get
a
it.
huge pitch because you're part of helping all this.
And this is
happen.
this is the one and done right here.
You know,
This is the only time we did this.
Being a part of something like that is a blessing, Tony. Thank you for
Thanks for your
doing
support.
that because, you know, I definitely want to hopefully be the ambassadors for the next generations coming up. And by doing these things, you feel like you're really part of, you know, creating the spaces where we grew up, a skate park. It's incredible.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
there are very
incredible.
few of us that got that.
Yes. Yes.
That had that place
Yep,
and that sense
yep,
of community and
yep,
that sense of
yep,
salvation. And
Safe
you're one of
haven.
them, but that was our home away from home.
Yes,
That's where we
yes,
found who we
yes.
were.
So
Well, the
And so-
cameras are on, so I have to say thank you, both of you, for existing in my life and helping me decide correctly on being a skateboarder for all my life. I really owe you both a lot, and it's my mum might get it. Like, look, mum, we're fucking podcast with Christian Hosoi and Tony Hawk. Fuck yeah, man. Why me? It's awesome. So thank you, guys. I
well,
appreciate
thank you,
it. Yeah.
Jason. You've always been
Don't leave me hanging.
kind.
Thanks, buddy.
You've always been kind. You've always been.
I love
so,
you, dude. You're an
so
inspiration.
complimentary,
You're a
and
great
I
guy.
appreciate that.
Yeah,
you know,
I'm proud of you. Proud of
thank
not
you.
just the 80s. I'm like, you're a great man, great
You're-
father, all around great. Love
Thank
your
you,
style,
thank
dude.
you. And you too, Tony.
Thanks, buddy.
Really.
Always. Respect.
See you
always.
next week, everybody. Like and describe.